All right, guys. We're going to use this. I'm going to flip to the next page. We're going to rewrite our equation. So hello. We want to go to a blank one. Here we go. So we are going to rewrite our equation. You don't need to because you probably have it on your paper, but I'll rewrite it just so you can see it up here. We start off with 2 moles of potassium, right? Combined with 2 water. Hey. This is 2 moles of KOH plus 1 mole of hydrogen. Are you guys okay with that? Just our equation that we just rewrote. And if you guys remember our mole ratio step, so we're going to write down the mole ratio of everything here. And so if I was to take the mole ratio, we had 2 moles of potassium, 2 moles of water, 2 moles of KOH, and 1 mole of hydrogen. Okay. Just to recap of what we just did. Hopefully you don't have any questions on that, but if you do, raise your hand. Now, we're gonna look at the next step. We did moles to moles on Friday. We did a warm-up on moles to moles. We also did that on Thursday. Now we're going to take to the next step. We're going to convert things from grams to moles. All right, so as we convert grams to moles, so our big step is we're going to do grams to moles. This can also be the title of your Cornell notes if you so desire to have a title. Excuse me. So what we're going to do is we are now going to take 5 grams of potassium. And we're going to convert this to moles of water. So our goal is to convert this to moles of water.
What should I title it?
Grams to moles, right there.
I mean, you already said that.
Grams to moles.
Thank you.
That big underlined thing, that I said, this could be your title, but I know. So we're going to convert it to moles of hydrogen. Oh, we'll keep it hydrogen instead of water. We'll keep it the same units that we did for our warm-up, same everything. The big difference now, instead of just converting moles to moles, we're going to convert it from grams to moles. Now, this is actually not any more difficult than anything you've already done. You've taken things from grams to moles from our last unit. We did a test on how to convert things from grams to moles. And then we just recently learned how to do moles to moles. And we're going to combine those 2 steps into one. So it's really 2 steps you need to know. One is to convert first. Grams to moles. The second step you guys are going to do convert. Once you convert grams to moles of, you're going to convert grams of, I should have put that, potassium to moles of potassium. And the second step, we're going to convert moles of potassium to moles of hydrogen. I know. I'm okay with that. Okay. Now, you convert grams to moles, and then you convert moles of potassium to moles of hydrogen. Those are going to be the 2 steps that you're going to do in this process. Now, since we're doing conversions, we should always do our very first thing that we always do, which is just write down what's given and set up dimensional analysis. So let's do that. You're going to start off with 5 grams of potassium. How many steps are we going to need in this problem? How many steps? 2. That's right. So yeah, the first step that we're going to do is convert grams to moles, and then we got our second step. We're going to need to convert those moles to moles. All right. right, now, if I have 5 grams of potassium here, what's going to need to go down here? Grams of potassium. Very good. Now, I'm not going to put in any of these values in yet. I'm just going to put the units in so you guys can see what's going to happen and why things go where they go. Now, if I have grams of potassium, what am I trying to convert this to in my first step? To moles, right? So we need moles of potassium. Ooh, I can speak. So this is our grams to mole step. We're converting grams to moles. Good. So now I can see that these grams per potassium, we're going to cancel out these grams of potassium, right? That's just the units. We haven't put any values in. Now our second step is to convert these moles to moles. So if I have moles of potassium here, what needs to go down here?
Moles of potassium.
Moles of potassium. What are we trying to convert to? Moles of hydrogen. And so that needs to go on top. What you're trying to get rid of, go on the bottom, which is moles of potassium. What you're trying to find out goes on top, which in this case is moles of hydrogen. So I write in moles of hydrogen. Excellent. All right, now we can see here we're going to have moles of potassium cancel out with moles of potassium. What are the only units I have left in all of this problem?
Just kidding, moles of hydrogen.
Moles of hydrogen, and that's what we want for our answer. And so I know this checks out, at least I set it up correctly.
Tell you in a minute. Jesus Christ, just stop talking.
Do I have to have another build up here?
No, just go away.
Keep the mouth quiet and we won't have a problem. There you go. Okay, so we have moles of hydrogen, right? That we were trying to get. Now we're just going to put in our values in here. And so if we put in our values, we got, to begin with is grams of potassium. If I'm talking about grams per mole, what is the other kind of name for grams per mole? Where units are grams per mole, what do we call that?
Molar mass.
The molar mass. And so all we got to look at our periodic table. What's the molar mass of potassium?
Like.
No, it's 39.10. So you got your moles. Yeah. 39. That's better. Is that better for you? Okay. Now, if you have 39.1 grams of potassium, how many moles would I have of potassium in that case? Just one. It's always one. The only time moles are going to increase is in the mole ratio step. Otherwise, it's always going to be 1. And so here we have the mole ratio. In our mole ratio step, that's when we deal with, when you can have more than 1 mole. And that's when we deal with the mole ratios that we just did up here. If you look at potassium, how many moles of potassium do I have? 2 moles of potassium. How many moles of hydrogen do I have? 1. Okay, perfect. And now I can go ahead and do my math now. I got all the values put in. All I got to do is 5 divided by 39.10 divided by 2. And what do you get? 39.10. Get your calculators out. 0.064, okay. Sounds about right. So I think you might have rounded wrong, but that's all right. 0.064 moles of hydrogen would be your answer. Is there any questions about how to do this, guys?
Thank you.
Are there any questions here that you need me to go over? Do you understand what I did? Yeah, right. Because that's what we're trying to convert here in the mole ratio is moles of potassium to moles of hydrogen. When you do this mole ratio step, you're using this equation right up here, remember? So if you take a look at potassium, how many moles of potassium do I have? How many moles of hydrogen do I have? See, and that's why we got 1 mole of hydrogen on top and 2 moles on the bottom. We're trying to get rid of moles of potassium, that's why they go on the bottom. And because they had moles up here on top, right? 1 mole of potassium, then we put 2 moles down here on the bottom. And so we're trying to get rid of that, so that goes on the bottom. What we're converting it to goes on top, which is moles of hydrogen. Any other questions, guys? All right, let's try one on your own. All right, convert 20 grams of water to moles of KOH. So that's what you guys are going to be working on. Try this by yourself. If you need help, I'll come around. But convert grams, 20 grams of water to moles of KOH. So everyone should be doing this by themselves on their paper. Get practice at this. Hannah, did you take... Okay, to answer this question, we're going to take 20 grams of water and convert it to moles of KOH. And so when you're doing this problem, the first thing always to do is to set it up. And so we know we're going to have to do 2 steps. So just set up what you know and then put 2 steps down. So we got 20 grams water. 1, 2. Alright, now let's put our units in to see how we can set this up correctly. Grams of water. If I have it here, what needs to go down here? Grams of water. What needs to go on top? Moles of water. Okay, we got moles of water. We got moles of water here. What needs to go down here? Moles of water. And then what are you trying to convert that to? Moles of KOH. Very good. Any questions about what I set up and how I set it up? You guys are awfully talkative, but no questions. Odd. Because you're so smart. That is true. Yeah. You're probably failing PE too, right?
No, I actually have a B and P.
B? Okay, good. Alright, so now we got 20 grams of water. 20 grams of water. What should I put here for grams of water? What value do I put in here?
2.
Not 2.
1, I don't know, 20.
How do you find grams per mole? What do you use?
Molar mass.
The molar mass. What's the molar mass of water? Yeah, 18.02.
7.01.
Will you stop guessing? 18.02. For every what? How many moles? 1 mole.
Like how I did that off the top of my head.
Okay, so now we just did our grams to mole step. We got to do the mole ratio next. We look at our mole ratio in our equation that we did, our balanced equation. How many moles of water did we have?
1.
2. How many moles of KOH did you have? Take a look again. 2. So we had 2 moles of KOH. On the bottom, look at your equation, your balanced equation. What's your coefficient that's in front of the water? It's a 2, right? That's where that comes from. Alright, so here's some tough math for you, Hannah. What's 2 divided by 2? That's what I thought. Okay, anyways, we'll go on. So what you're going to do for the math is you can just take 20 divided by 18.02. Because 2 divided by 2 is 1?
It's 1.1.
1.1. That's right, 1.1 moles of KOH.
I'm so smart.
There you go. Those things cancel out. You end up getting moles of KOH. Yeah.
Okay. How come you have 2 moles of H?
Look at your equation again that we started off with. This whole thing in your warm-up.
Okay.
See, there's 2 moles KOH. All right. Any other questions?
For some reason,
All right.